Good morning, everybody. This is Imaginary Dreams once again. It's been quite a while, though I still need to finish projects that I have in task myself. So this will be the Inktober 2019 sketchbook, and I actually didn't believe that I would actually go through this entire book. And this sketchbook, if you recognize this art, is from another artist, and she had a Kickstarter, and one of the rewards was this very lovely sketchbook, and I thought it was a good opportunity to do the Inktober challenge with the sketchbook from the Kickstarter reward. And I'm quite pleased that I finished the Inktober 2019 for the first time actually, and then finished this entire sketchbook. So we will go through the entire sketchbook in this video. So the first one is Ring, and I did not do any sketches in the first few challenges, just to be able to see how my sketching goes without planning. And just to keep it simple, just follow the movie The Ring and have the ghost just come out of this well based from the movie, though it might not be accurate to the original adaptation, I suppose. And try to just make the well itself also look something like a ring. Though not quite satisfied with this one, I decided to draw Irma from the webtoon comic Irma. This is her on the right, and then her mother, and both of them are just doing hula hoops of rings, and I quite like this one much more. The following one was Mindless, and basically we just have this brain going off into an adventure, and these are sort of the skull that he was walking out from and a few laying humans on the ground, and this is him sort of coming out of his home. And this sort of just reminds me of like the Hobbit from Lord of the Rings, where he's just walking out of his sort of home that is sort of inside this hill underground. I don't know why that sort of gave me that image when I was drawing the scene. Next one was Bait, and it's just basically a bait within a bait of a character trying to catch a rabbit, which this monster seems to be aiming for this individual, and someone up in the trees has a giant box going to catch them all. Once again, this is all just no sketching and just drawing right away without really thinking much of a concept. Here we have Freeze, though we have this sort of living ice cube melting away, and this is just sort of going the opposite of the theme, subverting the theme, let's say. We have Build, though it's more like Pinocchio repairing himself and being more independent, as if to say that his father or creator isn't here to take care of him anymore, and so he has to take care of himself. As for we have Husky for day 6, and a thought that just came to mind is just simply, what if a dog found a broomstick and could suddenly fly? It would have been like the best stick this dog has ever found, and could start flying anywhere he wants and just showing off his other dog friends. To sort of continue the story a little bit more, we have Enchantment, and so the witch herself was trying to find where her broom went, and she sort of sees the dog has taken it, which I think is a little bit funny. Next we have Frail, and this is just some swamp creature basically, all frail, and looks he couldn't really move too quickly within the swamp, and looks like he's very old. Here we have Swing, and this is just another concept that I wanted to play around with the perspective a little bit, looking up towards a person swinging right next to a ledge, and down below is a bunch of monsters wanting to eat him or her up, though the brush that I used for this ink drawing was a little bit too thick. Next one is Pattern, and this is just sort of a dungeon explorer finding this pattern on the wall, or door. It could just be one or the other. Though again, not much sketching or planning, and so it's not really even between which one is thicker than the other. We have snow, but in this case it's more like black snow coming from factories, and so this person had no choice but to make a black snowman. And now this is where I start to change, since it's 1/3 the way through the challenge and wanted to start sketching up different concept. So for the 12 is dragon, and so I decided to do 4 sketches exploring different concepts of should the dragon be much larger, or would it be a dragon also using a sword and fighting the knight protagonist, let's say, and then trying to see with composition and what would be interesting. So I tried to do this 4th one, though when I actually draw it in the end, the size of the dragon didn't really fit the size of the knight himself, and the dragon to be a realistic size that fits the thumbnail, he would have to be much bigger. I sort of draw the knight a little bit too big, which was my mistake. So I had to draw the dragon a little bit smaller, but he has a bigger sword. So a sword wielding dragon I think is quite interesting. I couldn't really call such a scene before, and I kind of like how the armor of the knight had turned out, and so I quite like this one within the Inktober event. Ash, which is sort of a continuation of the snow, just have this ashen zombie person coming out of the black snow that sort of polluted by the factory himself. And this one again didn't have much sketch. I think I didn't have much time to sort of think of a concept, so I sort of skipped the idea for a couple of pages. Next one is overgrown. So it's sort of this person going into this pet shop, and all of the pets are quite overgrown and don't really fit into their cages. Next one is sort of legend, and it's just having this park and this kid looking up to, like, let's say heroic people who have, let's say, done great things in the past, and so they are legends. Wild, we have just these 2 kids playing, but this kid sort of stepped on this girl's sandcastle, and so she just is about to go wild on him. Ornament, went straight into sketching once again, drawing a witch wanting to have an ornament, and to sort of make things a little bit interesting. That I thought of during the sketch is just to have like a person stuck inside the witch's ornament. Though this hat kind of reminds me of the Harry Potter hat, but once again I'm not too happy with the thicker lines up on top, which sort of separates the thinner lines below and makes it a little bit uneven and doesn't look like it's coming from the same image. After a while I went back to doing concept sketches once again to practice like compositions and different ideas. And here we have Misfit for day 18. The first one, we just have a bunch of kids sort of stealing a wig from an old man and trying it again. We have sort of a kid trying to grab the attention of the old man, and then a kid up on the roof trying to steal it from his head. Another one is sort of the same kids drawing, but then they are carrying a dog for the dog to fly, or just kids playing in the trees. So I think the first one is sort of the best idea, with sort of different action and story of their misfit stealing an old man's wig, as they are sort of not the kindest kids, just a bunch of misfits. This is sort of a sling. I accidentally sort of skip a page, and this is from one of the other concepts that I wanted to try to draw and experiment with shading, though it did not really turn out as good as I expected. So now with the main sling, once again we have this fair like ride where it slings you up and down and just playing with perspective. Another one is just two kids playing with slings, which is from this one, though I think the sketch has a better concept with the children poses. Next one is just playing with perspective and foreshortening again, with one of the kids' hand very close to the camera as he pulls the sling backwards, and it just goes into the far distance away. But then in the very last one, I kind of like the idea of an astronaut trying to sling himself to the moon, and that's what I went with. And this is sort of the second sketch that I was quite happy with the results. The first one being the knight. Next one is thread, and the first sketch is just like an old lady, and I think it's like called a turban, like just have this long yarn ball on her head as a turban, and she's sort of taking it out to knit something. It could be a scarf or a coat. With thread, and during that time was playing a bit of Hollow Knight, so I just thought of the Hollow Knight character Hornet, as she and her fighting style is based on thread as well. And this is sort of her running on a thread over different needles. Next one is just sort of a mixture of the Hollow Knight, as they have these epic grand scale architectures, but this is based on a large nail and a string going through, but it's based on a bridge, and the bridge concept idea came from the Shadow of the Colossus, and that's sort of how I thought of this long bridge. And that's what I went with at the end, of just Hornet and the Hollow Knight main character sort of standing on this sort of large epic bridge, and the outside is just deep darkness that you cannot really see what's out there, so better not fall. I also like how this needle turned out to have this large scale, and we know these characters and their size, so comparing these two, you get to see like a perspective of how big this nail and this string actually is. As I had a free page here, I decided to draw this second concept over, but sadly I was not able to capture the pose of Hornet and just have her sitting on this needle on top of this tomato, where people usually put needles on so that they don't poke themselves for safekeeping. So I wish I had a better chance to make the pose much more epic than this, but this will do for now. Had an extra page and fulfilled the first concept of an old lady weaving some kind of scarf from her hair, and then I also decided to add her sort of skirt to be extra large, just she's the type of person that has a lot of fabric on her. Next one for 21 is treasure, and wanting to explore with perspective once again with the second concept, and it's just like from Aladdin climbing up this peak to get to the lamp. Next one is like some kind of Mission Impossible, where the person is hanging from a rope trying to reach for this gem. And the third one is some kind of monster, where they have something sexy that lures someone in without realizing they're like walking into the jaws of a predator. So with this, I used Copic markers and the ink went through, so this page to me was just unusable. But with the next two pages, I brought the third and fourth concepts to life, and I quite like this one, how this explorer turned out. I'm still not sure if the leg pose is correct. I just chose to just let it be point out, and so we just have this line of straight line going down to this gem, and then have these looking like some kind of ruins. But shading all of this black, I don't think it would fit, so I just left it white as is. This one is a much quicker sketch of like a sexy tongue luring someone into the jaws of a beast, though this is just sort of a throwaway sketch. Next one is Ghost, and the first one is just playing around with the idea of someone dressing as a ghost, trying to see what's underneath an actual ghost. Second one is a ghost sort of peering down from a roof as someone is sort of sleeping in his bed, trying not to move. The third one is, let's say, a ghost going through a wall, but then there's someone telling him either to get out or use the door. And the last one is a ghost chasing a person, but the ghost is actually flying because of the swing tire, and if only the person decides to run in a straight line, they would most likely get away. So in this case, I was able to have enough room to draw all four, and in this case I decided to have the ghost actually touch the person's nose and bend it a little bit, something I think is a little bit comedic. The next one is I decided to make it no entering, because supposedly the door is locked, and then the ghost going through the wall is against the rules, and adding a few ghosts of like, oh, this is like a only for young ghosts and not for adults. But then why is there a human guard? I don't really know. And then the last one is just a ghost on a swing tire trying to chase and scare off this little kid. Next one is Ancient, and then with the sketch here, it's mostly someone peering from a cliff, seeing a very ancient ruin. Another one is someone having trouble lifting like a magical sword or Excalibur. The third one is just someone about to take something that is expired. And then the last one is someone reaching out to grab a skull. So I took the second concept but changed it up a little bit, where it's like, what if someone actually just couldn't pull Excalibur out of the stone, but then he just drags the stone with him. So I think it's just a little bit funny this way. And just imagine if he continues to use this weapon and just use it as a club instead of a sword. I think that has some comedic potential. Next one is Dizzy. We have like a ballerina. We have someone running on one of those hamster wheels. We have a cat about to eat some birds that are actually the dizzy birds of another cat being dizzy. And the third one is sort of continuing the concept of a cat trying to reach out for birds that made her dizzy. Instead, I went with the second concept and changed up a little bit, where it's like this cat is hungry, so he decided to knock his friend in the head, causing this bird-like dizzy effect, and so he's able to eat the birds or catch the birds later to eat. With another room, I decided to draw the ballerina, but change the concept a little bit with like a statue and has no heads or arms, but I kind of failed to make the skirt look as round as I wish it could look. For 25th is Tasty. So we have this octopus making some barbecue. We have like a dragon on a barbecue grill, and underneath is a bunch of workers putting fire to warm him up. But maybe for this dragon, and the concept is like he's not actually dead or being cooked, it's just like he prefers it warm. And we have a witch cooking some alive tentacles, and then another sort of Dutch angle playing with perspective of someone eating a pig. In this case, I went with the tentacle one, and for the barbecue, it's just barbecuing some people on a stick, which is like a little bit scary to think about. So here we have the concept of dark for 26. This one wanting to play with sort of shadows and certain light source with someone with a match. Another one is someone hiding behind a table as a monster is creaking in the dark. Another person is sort of looking down underneath his bed, seeing like there's a deeper underground room under his bed where the monsters lurk. And the last one is like someone shining a light, or he's like a light source which burns the darkness away. In this case, I chose with the second one, where the girl is hiding behind the table, and then using sort of selective shading to indicate like there's a monster within this room. We have coat as the 27th one, and the first one is just wolf in sheep's clothing. Next one is more of a sheep, and we have the Mario Kart sort of cloud person that tells you when it's the last lap, stealing the coat of the sheep. And then we have another wolf being like a half scorpion, and then another person as wearing a large coat. But I went with the first one of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, and this kind of coat sort of reminds me of the One Piece Doflamingo person that has just this large coat with him. 28 is ride, so we just have like the usual cowboy riding something, a person riding a rock monster, a person riding another person, or a person riding a dog. In this case, with the spirit of Halloween, let's just say it's a kid as a cowboy riding his dog, and of course he has a very large dog, and his other sort of friend or older brother sort of standing next to him. Though sadly I kind of like messed up with the dog drawing. 29 is injured, so it's like the obvious sort of mummy with like another injured person who's similarly wrapped up. Another sort of seeing someone on the bed this time, and then having another mummy type person coming to check up on him. Another one is like their body is in a cryo state while their head is inside another robot for them to move. And the last one is the same concept of someone is a mummy and being sort of carried away. In this case, I decided to take the first concept but then change it up a little bit, where it's actually like a mummy nurse person taking care of the injured patient, and it's the injured patient who is having trouble sort of accepting that he's being taken care of, someone wrapped up more than him. 30 is catch, and so we just have a person catching fish. Another one is two people on top of a monster trying to catch him with large fishing hooks. The third one is a hunter who sort of shot and caught a deer or a horse, and then little does he know that there's like a giant bear behind him, and then a child sort of catching his teacher by eating her hand. As I went with the third one of a hunter who sort of killed a horse, but he's about to be caught by this large bear. Last one is ripe. So we have this lady sort of picking out apples, but these apples are like alive, and sort of, I don't know which Disney movie it came from, but I just feel like there's a Disney movie with apples that could sort of talk. I just don't remember which one, but that's sort of where the idea came from. Next one is just a person hugging like his giant pumpkin, and the pumpkin is like ripe and happy. The next one is two people looking into their oven as like they're making apple pie. The apple pie is sort of being cooked alive. Or the last one is sort of apple leaving his home because he sort of ripe and became an adult and ready to go to the open world. So I just select the first one as the most interesting sort of scary concept of someone picking out scary dead looking apples, and they're like perfectly happy and excited to eat them up. And that's sort of the end of this Inktober sketchbook, and I hope to be able to share more sketchbooks in the near future whenever I finish them. Right now I'm sketching through Lorenzo's How to Draw Everything, and just sort of practice drawing based on their ways of how to think when you draw and drawing different things. So hopefully I get to finish another sketchbook and share it with you guys in the near future. With that said, you can follow my Instagram if you want to see the type of drawings that I am practicing early, and I'll need to wait for these videos. Or be sure to subscribe to see my next video in the near future. With that said, I hope to see you all next time. Bye for now.